of the books that I've been reading or have read. This is something that I want to do on this channel. I really love reading, whether it's fiction, nonfiction, anything for my dissertation, because I am currently pursuing my PhD. So I do have 5 books that I've read so far by Frieda McFadden, which I really, really enjoyed. And I kind of want to talk about those. I probably won't whisper through the whole video. I may do some soft-spoken because it's a little easier on the voice. But I will switch back and forth. So for the books that I've read, I have read The Housemaid. I have read The Divorce, which I just finished reading, so this one's kind of fresh in my memory. I've read The Surrogate Mother, The Housemaid's Secret, and The Housemaid is Watching. So thus far, I know that The Housemaid is the only one that is currently a movie, which I also have seen, which I really, really liked. So if you've never seen the Housemaid movie, I would absolutely watch it, but I would read the book first if you're more interested in reading the book than seeing the movie first, for sure. So to get started, I'm going to talk about this one. I'm just going to do some really kind of quick reviews, and then also just give my opinion and whether or not I feel like if I would recommend it. So the gist of The Housemaid, if you haven't seen the movie, if you haven't read the book, is there is a woman and her husband who hire a housemaid, and the reasons for hiring the housemaid are a bit of ulterior motives. So I don't want to give any spoilers just in case anyone hasn't read, but I'll just kind of say how I felt about it. So this one is really good because it has a lot of twists and turns. I don't think that you know exactly what's going to happen, so I think that's really awesome. I recommend reading this one because whatever your first thought is about what's going to happen is not it. I thought that, it was going to be the typical, oh, they bring in someone young and beautiful, she cheats, and, the husband cheats, and that's just the end of it, but it's not that. So really, really recommend this one. This one was very, very quick to get through. I bought this one at Barnes & Noble for maybe like $15. Really, really good book. Highly, highly, highly recommend. And this is the first of 3 in the Housemaid series. So if I had to rate it on a scale of 5, this one would definitely be a 5. The next one in the series is The Housemaid is Watching. This one also had a lot of twists and turns, but if I'm going to be completely honest, I feel like this one was the most predictable of the 3. I just feel like Frieda McFadden seems like a wonderful fiction writer, but I just feel like this one kind of fell short on the, I guess, like the climax that it was supposed to deliver. So this one I wouldn't give a 5. I would recommend reading it because it gives backstories to the previous housemaid in the first book, but I also feel like this is the one that it just didn't deliver how it should have. So for this one, I would give maybe a 3.5 out of 5 because I feel like the ending could have been better. I feel like I knew who the antagonist was. I knew what was going to happen. So I feel like this one you should read, but I feel like at the end you'll be kind of disappointed because it's not what the other ones are. So this is The Housemaid is Watching. The third one is The Housemaid's Secret. I really, really like this one as much as I like The Housemaid. I think this one did a wonderful job of kind of keeping those keeping anticipation high, because I really did not know what was going to happen in this one. I thought this one was amazing. Once I got to the end, I said, wow, I did not know that's what was going to happen. So this one I definitely recommend. It just kind of goes more into the backstory of Millie, who is the housemaid and the technically seen as the antagonist in the first book, but really a protagonist. And so in these two books, she's a protagonist as well. But this one does a really good job of kind of diving deep into background, giving a bit more of what's going on, telling a better story. So absolutely, this one, 5 out of 5 as well. I would absolutely recommend reading this one. So altogether, I would recommend reading all three. I just feel like The Housemaid is Watching is the one that is the least entertaining, but the rest of them absolutely amazing. And sorry, don't mind my nails. I need to get them done again. Okay, then we'll move on to The Surrogate Mother. I was really excited about reading this one because on the back of the books, they just do a great job of kind of reeling you in. So this one, as the title suggests, is about a woman who cannot have kids, and so she hires a surrogate. This book does a wonderful job of keeping you on your toes, and this could just be my opinion, but I feel like a lot of movies have kind of touched on this topic. So I don't know if, like you all have seen multiple movies, like such as When the Bough Breaks. It's less of like a Rosemary's Baby. It's more of When the Bough Breaks, which is just a movie where someone is a surrogate, then they eventually just, don't want to give the kid up because they fall in love with the husband. This is very similar to that. So when I was reading this one, I was on my toes. I'm like, whoa, this is great. This is awesome. And then when I got to the end, I said, oh, okay, like I saw that coming, right? So very predictable, but still a really good read. If I had to rate this one, I'd probably give maybe a 3 out of 5. But still a good read. I would still recommend, but I feel like once you get to the end, you'll probably say too, like, yeah, that's a bit predictable. So, just definitely check it out. But like I said, 3 out of 5. So about 60% if you want to pick this one up. And then lastly, thus far, because there are still a few that I have to read. I still have to read, I believe it is, I don't remember the titles, but there are like 4 or 5 that I haven't read that are in her collection. I think one is The Tenant, a teacher or the teacher, and then there's like 2 more, one about being in the woods or a cabin. So I have to read those, but this is the one that I read recently, and this one actually kind of took me longer to read than all the others. Like with every other book I just showed, I was done in maybe like 2 days. Like I was getting through them. This one took me about a month. So there were a lot of parts in this one that I read and I just kind of became disinterested. So it wasn't horrible, but there were a lot of parts that I read, and in the middle of reading them, I was like, okay, like if I finish it, great. If I don't, whatever. But I will say, when I got to the end of this one, I did not see the end coming. It was definitely a twist, which was really great. But I will also say, and I'm not gonna spoil, but there is a show that came out maybe like a year ago that was really popular that I feel like is the exact replica of this book. So it's a little interesting, especially because I finished that show before I read this book. So as I read this book, I was like, oh, this is literally what I just watched. So if you've read this book and you know what show I'm talking about, let me know. But yes, so kind of anticlimactic throughout the book, but once you get to the end, it's a nice surprising twist. But like I said, very similar to something I saw, so I kind of already knew where this was going. But either way, still a good book. For this one, I'd probably give a 4 out of 5, because the ending kind of, threw me for a loop. But really, really good book. So I would recommend. So out of the 5 I just showed in ratings, The Housemaid is the best. Then I'd probably go The Housemaid's Secret, The Housemaid is Watching, The Surrogate Mother, and The Divorce. So if you have not checked out any of Frieda McFadden's books, absolutely do so. They're amazing. Excuse me. Just, I would say, try to find one that you think fits your reading style and your reading interest. But overall, give it a chance. It seems like she has some really good books. She's a fantastic writer, fiction wise. But if you've read any, let me know. Leave a comment and let me know how you feel about them. And we can have a discussion. But yeah, so that was my recap of all of the Frieda McFadden books I've read lately. If you have any other suggestions of like really good fiction books, because I love fiction, of any really good fiction books, that would be awesome. You can, send that to me. Other than that, thank you so much for watching. Please subscribe and have a good day.